That's Bush League. Bush League.
Punch you right in the mouth. That's Bush. Bush League.
Hello, everybody. Bush League Bros Sports Talk is back. That guy's Paul Liakis. I'm Brett Batshutter. We've got a stacked show on our return. We said we were back a few weeks ago. We lied to you. We're not going to apologize for it, but we've got UFC 260 to talk about. We've got the NBA trade deadline, a lot of stuff going on in the NFL, and of course, we've got to continue our all-time Bush League Bros Sports Personality Brackets. But before we do any of that, Paul, how we doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good, Brett. I gotta admit, life is it's still stressful, man. Still got a lot going on, but as you know, our viewers and listeners are probably wondering why, the podcast has been a little sporadic.
Where the hell have we been?
Don't worry. It's all for good reasons. I'm finishing up school. Brett just finished up school. We're only completing tasks that are going to make us better in the long run in terms of getting this podcast better, getting other content better. So just bear with us. We're going to be finishing school up here shortly. We'll have a lot of big things coming once we're both finished with school. It's been one of those things where, hey, man, there's only so much time in the day. It's either record a podcast or fail all my classes. And
we can't have that.
And do terrible at my job currently. So
got
to have priorities.
That's
but
right.
The podcast is certainly still a priority. That's why we're here. We're not giving up. There's been, I commend us for that, is that we've never given up on this podcast. It's very easy to give up. I read a statistic recently. Most podcasts don't make it past 7 episodes. We're at episode 41.
Dog. 41.
That's like 7 times the normal quit rate. Yeah.
That's just what we do. We're incredible. We may be Bush League,
We're Bush
but
League.
we are phenomenal,
We're very Bush League.
Yeah. And as you'll see, some mistakes that I have to address when we get to the bracket here at the end of the show. But, we're human beings. We make mistakes. But, we're back. We're on a different time slot. We're recording on a Tuesday morning now. We'll see how long it lasts. But, hey, again, this goes into the not quitting.
I think it's going to be better
for
our lives. Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys got other things to do on the weekends. So we figured early week show, you guys might get to catch us more often, and more of us is always better. At least that's what I get complaints about. So that's not podcast related, but anything else you want to talk about before we get into some sports, sir?
Not a ton I want to get into. I'm excited, man. I think, we got the podcast rolling back here. Let's get into it, bud. We got some big sports topics to talk about. A lot of stuff went on this past weekend. Obviously, March Madness going on too. Dip into a little bit of that later. So,
have you watched any March Madness?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was watching the games last night, man.
Boring.
Yeah, the Arkansas
Razorbacks.
The Razorbacks Baylor game was a good game. The game before that was also very good. Oregon State versus, why am I blanking on who they played as well? It was a long night. I was a little distracted. I was having a date night, huh?
Oh, that's right. You're a lover boy. I can't get into. I don't know. Maybe it's because the Gators lost to Oral Roberts, and I'm just sick of all my teams stinking. I don't know. I haven't gotten into March Madness this year.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a lot to say about it.
Some good games last night. And, we got some good games tonight. We got Michigan squaring off, I think, with UCLA tonight, and then USC versus Gonzaga. So a couple really good games.
Did you do a bracket this year?
I did do a bracket. Terrible.
Dead,
everything's dead.
Yeah. Okay.
So
I'm really glad I did.
Nothing to worry. Yeah, nothing to be excited about with my brackets. That's for sure. And the first game was Houston versus the Beavers. So
can't miss.
Oregon State Beavers. So Houston, first time they've been back in the Final Four since Phi Slamma Jamma. Pretty big accomplishment. Baylor, first time since 1950. Yeah,
wonderful.
That's gonna be a really good Final Four game. Both those teams, super athletic, a lot of players. Yeah.
Well, maybe we'll cover it. Maybe I'll start carrying over this week when it actually happens. But I don't know. I haven't got into it. It's hard. It's hard to get into it when all your teams stink. Let's go into the NBA here. Let's start with the NBA because both of our teams stink in the NBA. The trade deadline was last week. A lot of moves happened.
Yep.
Everybody on the Orlando Magic was traded, including to your Boston Celtics. You all got Evan Fournier, who had a wonderful debut for you guys, 0 for 10 last night. How do you feel about the trade deadline? Anything?
I was just going to mention that, man. My Celtics didn't make any big moves, dude. It's just, we traded for Evan Fournier. Nothing to be excited about there. You already mentioned it. First game, he played 33 minutes, 0 for 10, 0 for 5 from 3, 0 points.
That's
playing 33 minutes an NBA game and not getting any points is it's almost an accomplishment, of sucking. What the fuck did you guys just trade us, dude? It's not like we gave you anything fantastic for him. What, we gave you RJ Hampton?
No, you didn't have. What do you? No. You gave us
not
second
RJ
rounders.
I'm sorry.
RJ Hampton came in the Aaron Gordon trade. You gave us two second rounders and a trade exception. So
my facts
look, this is what happens with Evan Fournier. The last game he played for the Magic, he lit it up and he hit the game winner as well. He was averaging 30 points his last two games. And he's going to have stinkers like this. This is why I'm glad he's gone. He's incredibly inconsistent.
He's Evan Fournier. Yeah.
That's right. And then, the Magic also got rid of two-time All-Star Nikola Vucevic, which that one stung. Did not expect that to happen.
Vucevic.
That one hurt.
Vucevic.
You, good God, son. I'm done with you. And then Aaron
Gordon. Chicago, right?
The Nuggets. Yes. Vucevic to the Bulls for 2 first-rounders. Top 4 protected with Wendell Carter Jr. and Otto Porter Jr. And then Aaron Gordon to the Nuggets for a 2025. I think it's an unprotected first-round pick. RJ Hampton and Gary Harris, who in a weird stat, everybody with the first name Gary was traded at the NBA deadline. Did you hear about this?
I did. Yeah, it was kind of a weird thing. I guess How many Garys are there in the NBA? Apparently,
I think there was only 4, and all 4 of them got traded.
Yeah, all traded. Yeah, poor Gary.
What did Gary do?
So, I guess my question for you regarding your Magic, right, the Orlando Magic, is what do you Clearly, I think it's hilarious where they're the Magic are going for a rebuild because it's you guys basically there's nothing that happened that now you're.
We've been rebuilding.
I guess
since
you
Dwight.
did trade again all of your actual talent, but it's just funny to me that now it's a rebuild. What are your thoughts on that? Are the Orlando Magic ever going to be good again?
Probably not. And it's probably my fault. I have, for whatever reason, God or the gods or whatever the hell's going on out there, have cursed any team that I'm associated with, even in the slightest. Even if we go back to the NFL season last year, when I funnily picked the Ravens because Des Bryant was on their team, then they started sucking big time. So I can't even get minute victories, little happy victories. It just doesn't happen. I'm not allowed. I did not, as I said, I didn't really care for the Vucevic trade. We'll see how it works out. I know it's supposed to be a pretty good draft this year. If we can get 2 lottery picks, great. And then in 2022, which is where the other Bulls pick is, cool. I'm not. Picks are picks. You never know what they're going to be until they turn out. Here's what I like. Chuma Okeke, who that's the greatest nickname in basketball right now, Chum Bucket. He's getting more minutes with the Magic, and he's starting to play a little better. This is going to let Mo Bamba play, but this is going to let a lot of young kids play. RJ Hampton, who came over, who was a first-round draft pick this year for the Denver Nuggets, he's been kind of thrown right into that position to where he's got to play a lot of minutes because his entire team's hurt. I don't think this is going to make us great again. I'll use a Trumpism. This isn't going to make us great again anytime soon.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm glad Aaron Gordon and Evan
almost
Fournier
like you guys are.
We're stuck in a middling road of mediocrity, and it stinks. And I hate it. And I like the conspiracy theory that a lot of Magic fans have is that the front office did this just so they can have an excuse not to get fired for a few more years, because that's kind of what it feels like.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, if you're ever in fear of getting fired, just trade for future first round picks. That
That's right.
you know will. That's why the team sucks right now, right? What you know, it feels to me like the Magic are trying to be the Oklahoma City Thunder in terms of like accumulating draft capital and all that stuff, but they're like they didn't do it to the same degree where like the Thunder are kind of really set up for for like a big future with all the draft picks that they've accumulated from, I believe it was like the Clippers, right? And then they also, so I think.
Well, there's a stat
the Magic,
that,
yeah,
the first round next year,
mm-hmm.
30, I think I remember it was 30 or 40% of the draft is in the first round, Oklahoma City, the Orlando Magic, and the Houston Rockets. Like those three teams have all the picks. So that'll be weird to watch, but yeah, I don't know. I can't.
Yeah.
Magic stink. Everything stinks.
Yeah, Celtics on the other hand, right? I was, obviously not thrilled with the moves they made at the trade deadline. They're still playing awful. Lost to the Pelicans last night. Evan Fournier sucks.
Zion, dude.
The one thing I was somewhat happy about, I guess, was that they didn't trade Marcus Smart away. Although, I don't know, man. Like it gets to a point where, like, if like maybe you have to make that move eventually for this team to really be complete or get another solid big in there, right? Like there's talks that they might sign DeMarcus Cousins now, but we'll see if that happens.
What does that even mean?
What does that even mean? Is right. It's just this team is such shit, dude. Like they underperform. It just feels like they've underperformed all season long. It doesn't feel like that's going to change. And it's really one of the more disappointing. It reminds me, like I haven't had a Celtics season like this in a long time, but it reminds me of years where like the Red Sox were supposed to be like a good team. This happens like fairly often with the Red Sox where
the beer and chicken year.
Like they always have a pretty loaded roster, and then like they'll basically play 500 baseball the whole season. It feels like one of those seasons with the Boston Celtics, and it's just disappointing, man. Like they're finally allowing fans back at games here in Boston, and I mean,
let's go.
I was considering going, but it's like, do I even want to spend like a ton of money to go watch this team get fucking blown out by the Pelicans? Like that, I almost went to the game last night, and the short answer is no. I don't really want to go see that. Yeah.
I would have gone just to see Zion
the whole time.
Come on.
Yeah, no, I that was really, but that shouldn't be why I want to go to a Celtics game.
Why do you have to wear a mask? You're vaccinated. Aren't you done?
I know. They're still pretty uptight about it.
Okay. We're going to talk about COVID here in a little bit. But to wrap up NBA trade deadline talk, and I agree with you. I mean, I feel like both of our teams are mine's obviously worse than yours. You guys are still close to 500. We're way below. I think we've won 7 games since December. It's pathetic.
Since what's his name went down? Fultz went down,
Fultz,
right?
Yep, Markelle Fultz. Yeah, and I think both of our teams are in a situation. Ours definitely had to blow it up because we were 7th or 8th seed every year, getting eliminated first round with this team. It wasn't getting any better. It was getting worse, and then everybody gets hurt. You guys, I don't know that I'm seeing a lot of people on Reddit that are Celtics fans mad they didn't go for Aaron Gordon. I was like, guys, I don't think you want Aaron Gordon. He's not what people think he is. He's a dunk champion. He's a solid defender, but he's not great with the ball in his hand. He's not a shot creator.
I mean, you would have been happy. It would have been Marcus Smart.
I said, I love Marcus Smart, but that was the rumored package. If Fournier and Gordon were together, Marcus Smart would have been one of the players, and one of your rookies and a couple other guys would have been involved, as well as some first round picks. Aaron Gordon ain't worth that. I think that was the best trade we made because I thought we stole a lot from the Denver Nuggets, but I didn't want Marcus Smart because I'm like, we have no offense. He doesn't provide offense on a consistent basis. What we already have is a bunch of defenders. I love Marcus Smart. He'll shoot a
30-foot 3-pointer with 20 seconds left in the shot clock. Yeah.
I'm not going to say anything about it. I like Marcus Smart, but I just didn't think that would have been.
That's why, like, as much as, I'm disappointed the Celtics didn't really make serious moves. I think Smart Tatum and Brown on that team are untouchable. Like, you can't move those guys, and we didn't, right? But if this team continues to underperform the rest of the year, loses the first round of the playoffs, I think you got to seriously consider like moving one of those guys to change up this team, and it'll probably be Marcus Smart. He's got a decent contract, that they can move. So we'll see. But moving on, right? We're talking about the Nets now.
Not yet. I want to know outside, because really all we did on the trade deadline was talk about our teams. Was there any other team that you thought won or lost at the trade deadline? Obviously, we think Boston lost in the trade deadline, but was there anybody, by not making the right moves, but was there anything that stood out to you as really positive or really negative?
Let's see. I mean, I can't really pinpoint anything out. Like, it wasn't like a huge trade deadline like we see some years, right? I think we can agree on that. Like, it wasn't like any major stars on the move.
He's not a major star. I really like Oladipo going to Miami. I think that move.
I think that's a move that a team like Miami that was in the NBA Finals last year. It's a move that kind of, I think, hopefully they're looking to hopefully set them up to get back at least to the conference finals.
And the fact that they didn't have to give up Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson to make that move.
Yeah,
I think they've got
pretty savvy. Yeah,
they've got a lot of wing depth right there. So, and then
Pat Riley's still in his bag, dude.
Yeah, I mean, he's
90-year-old Pat
one
Riley,
of, if not the best GMs or front office executives in the league. So I liked that move, but you're right. There was no Nikola Vucevic was the biggest star that was traded. We'll talk about some buyouts here in a second, and I'm kind of sick of the NBA for it, but I don't think anybody became a championship contender based off the trade deadline.
No, exactly. I don't think. Yeah, you're correct, right? Like nothing major happened that really changed the balances in the NBA currently. The one last thing I do want to touch on, just going back to the Celtics, and me and you have talked about this, is it time like for the Celtics to kind of think about like, is Danny Ainge that dude really? Like he's kind of fucked shit up, dude. Like he hasn't really made any like savvy moves in retrospect since the Garnett trade, right? Which he had his boy Kevin McHale fucking hook him up with Kevin Garnett at that point, So so there's a lot of talk about that in Boston. Is like, is Danny Ainge really like, like is he the GM we really ever all thought he was? Like, who knows, man? Like he hasn't really made any moves that have benefited this team. Okay. And what's so funny, because we're gonna get into the Nets here now, right?
Yep. I'm gonna say something about Danny Ainge.
Yeah, there was always all this talk about how Danny Ainge fleeced the Nets and and now, whatever. How long ago was that? That was 2013. That was like 7 years ago. Now the Celtics have not even made the NBA Finals, and the Nets are arguably the best team in the NBA, right?
So it's not even an argument.
Granted, the Nets had some shitty years, right? Like, I'm not gonna say they didn't, but like, how great was that trade for the Celtics in retrospect? They got all those draft picks. They got all that. But what did it turn into? I mean, they got Tatum and Brown, but I don't know, man. It's Danny Ainge. He's on the hot seat, dude. I think
Danny Ainge, and I will steal the term from the league. Great show FX used to have. Danny Ainge is the master of the trade rape. I mean, he really is. That's why as soon as they started talking about, the Magic are going to look at a package with Aaron Gordon and Evan Fournier to the Celtics, I go, don't do that, because we're going to lose that trade. You lose every trade. And I think he's done so good at the trades for so long. That's why people are so hesitant to trade with him. And that's why you're not seeing those trades as often. We've talked about it in previous episodes of the podcast, or maybe we just did it on one of our homework assignments where we helped each other out. That, I mean, Danny Ainge's never been a great drafter outside of getting Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And the free agents that he's brought in. Look, Gordon Hayward, we can bash it all we want, but I mean, who knew he was going to have that freak injury in game one, that he played in a Celtics uniform? Kemba Walker, that one clearly hasn't worked out. But yeah, I mean, I don't see anything where you go, man, Danny Ainge is that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Kyrie, I consider that trade rip. I really do. I mean, you're going to turn Isaiah Thomas and nothing for Kyrie. But again, you don't know. Did we really know Kyrie was a weirdo then? We didn't know a whole lot about Flat Earth Kyrie.
Yeah.
Did we? Until he went to Boston.
We kind of knew he was like a dick because he like pushed himself out of Cleveland, basically. But
sure, but every star is a dick then, because when they're tired of being in their small market team and have a chance to get out, that's what they turn into.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just the NBA.
Right.
And it's ruining the NBA.
I mean, it's just, as a Celtics fan, it's just been.
Yeah. Are you all right?
What was that? Go ahead.
Am I going?
Yeah, we cut out for a second there. Yeah.
Oh, so we're bush leaguing right here.
No, I think we're good.
We're good. Okay.
We're bush leaguing.
Bush leaguing it here with the internet connection. Let's go over to the Nets here because you mentioned it, and I'm trying to stay positive on this episode of Bush League Bros because I feel like episode 40, last episode, we were doing a lot of complaining, but hey, it's time to complain again. The buyout situation. We know last episode we were talking about the Pistons and Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin was bought out. His contract he went right to the Nets. Now we've had two more buyouts. We had Andre Drummond get bought out by the Cavs. He's going to the Lakers. Surprise, surprise. And LaMarcus Aldridge was bought out by the Spurs. And of course, he is now on the Nets, meaning I think we talked last time that with Blake Griffin, they have 36 All-Star appearances. This guy's got, I think, 7 himself. So that's what, 43 All-Star appearances combined? This is absolutely ridiculous. The NBA is broken. Do we even care about the NBA until the finals right now?
I mean, how can you really? I mean, how is there? I mean, the West is going to be competitive for the Lakers, right? Like, there's a shot that someone could take the Lakers out in the West. I'm not saying a good one, but there's a shot. But I don't see any scenario where the Nets even, like, there's a chance that anyone's going to take them out in the East. You could say the Bucks maybe with Giannis if Giannis goes fucking freak mode, but I can't see it happening. And it's the Nets and Lakers, man. And it feels like we're back. Feels like we're back to the Golden State Cavs years where we knew what the NBA Finals were going to be. We really didn't even need to play the season. And what's worse about it, though, is like at least the Warriors with Steph Curry then were like fun to watch, man. Like it was, that was one of the most fun NBA teams to ever watch.
It was probably the cleanest basketball team of all time.
Yeah.
As far as how they
it was unbelievable. Yeah. Yeah, it was unbelievable. So and I'm not saying the Nets aren't fun to watch, but it's just like the accumulation of talent now. It just, it just makes you be like, what are we doing here, man? We have too much talent on one team. We need to, we want a competitive league, man. We don't want this bullshit.
I think they need to make. Oh, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Is LaMarcus Aldridge the game changer he was like even like 3 years ago? No.
Doesn't need to be.
But he's a solid piece. I mean, that starting 5 is ridiculous, dude. If they go Aldridge, Griffin, Kyrie, Harden, and Durant, I mean, just on paper.
They already had an all-star center. Now they just got one that can play even better offense. It's unreal.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I think
unbelievable.
The NBA has a problem, and it is what you said. You go back to competition. We don't have competition. Yeah. And, I think Stephen A. Smith went on First Take a couple days ago and blamed LeBron like in a joking manner. And I'm not going to blame him. He is not necessarily the start of this. You could probably say the Celtics getting their big 3 was the start of this because then LeBron felt like he had to level up, blah. I don't really care how it started. Where we're at right now, the buyout situations, if you draft really well and you sign people in free agency or you make smart trades, great. But the buyout, it's ridiculous. There needs to be some kind of way where these teams that are, I don't know, let's say they cap it. If you're a top 4 seed in either conference going into the trade deadline or the buyout, deadline, whatever you want to call them, you cannot pick up bought out players who have all-star appearances or major control. I don't know how you would do it. I don't know if a CBA would allow such a thing. I don't know what kind of restrictions you could do. There is no competition. Instead, send Andre Drummond, send LaMarcus Aldridge, send Blake Griffin to a 5, 6, or 7 seed. Send them to Atlanta. Send them to Dallas. Send them somewhere. Portland. I mean, I know Portland was interested in LaMarcus Aldridge, didn't get him. Get these guys somewhere that can boost rosters that aren't necessarily. All they're doing is Kevin Durant is assembling an all-star team. I think it was Rich Eisen who came out, and I thought it was hilarious. He goes, it feels like Kevin Durant is still on TNT picking his all-star lineup for the all-star game. That's just what it feels like. And he's right.
No, exactly.
Because they got 46 or 43 all-star appearances between 6 players. And not to mention they still have, I know he's hurt right now, they got Spencer Dinwiddie. They've got the guy who won the 3-point contest. What is that? Joe Harris, I think his name is.
Yeah.
I could be wrong. It's a ridiculous lineup. They would have to have 50 to 60%. They would have to have a complete Orlando Magic injury breakdown for them to not even be competitive anymore. And it's ridiculous. Yeah. I know the Lakers, the only problem the Lakers have right now is AD and LeBron aren't healthy. LeBron out for the rest, at least of the regular season, I believe. But they say he should be back 3 to 4 weeks, right around when the playoffs start. The only danger they're in is if they keep falling down into like that 7th seed where there's a play-in. That's the only kind of danger they're in. But even then, look, for all the crap I give LeBron, I know playoff LeBron is a different animal. With Andre Drummond, I think he doesn't even need AD to come back fully healthy for that team to go through the West, because I'm not as sold on the West as other people may be. But it doesn't matter. The Nets have already won the finals. Let's just crown their ass. Use a Dennis Green quote right there and move on. I'm sick of it.
Crown.
Yeah. Crown. They are who we thought they were. I think.
We are who we thought they were. Let me look at the standings right now in the West. Hold on one second.
I think the Lakers are 4th.
Yes, they are. Correct. So 30-17, sitting at 4th. You got to think, they're going to drop a little bit down, but it doesn't matter. And especially it's not going to be a bubble playoffs again. It doesn't look like, but it's.
Nope.
Home court won't really matter, and home court never really matters for LeBron in the playoffs. We've seen him have other years, but the Cavaliers where that didn't matter. So
it won't happen. But I mean, you don't want to be an 8th seed going to Denver, or not Denver, to Utah's the 1 seed, right? Going to Utah. Yeah. I mean, you don't want to do that just because I think they'd still get through them, but. What did we say last year on this podcast when we were talking about, the playoffs? It felt like last year was the easiest road matchup-wise for LeBron to get to the finals in at least a very long time, if not ever. You don't want to have to go through the hardest road if you're the Lakers, especially with the injury history of AD and now LeBron being hurt. You want to get through the easier teams first and to get the rust off because, any given day, these guys are professionals and they're not the Orlando Magic. They're better teams, real teams. Anything can happen, but it just feels like it's boring because you know what's going to happen.
Exactly. Can we just touch on LeBron, high ankle sprain? But, I mean, is there anyone that, sells up an injury better than LeBron James? Pierce? Did you see the clip? Yeah, well, I mean, he shit his pants, but...
but he had to get wheelchaired out.
He pooped his pants, dude. He pooped his pants, man. Anyways... But LeBron, I mean, you would have thought he got shot. You would have thought he literally died. Yeah.
As an elite athlete like LeBron, I can speak for him and say that high ankle sprains suck. The big one, not a big fan of him. So. Look, you got to make true. LeBron is always thinking about marketing. Okay, this man is a millionaire, probably a billionaire for a reason. He sees money. He felt that pop. He felt that sprain happen immediately, but he wasn't thinking about the injury. He was thinking about the dollar signs. He's like, I got to milk this thing. Because just imagine the promo package in the Western Conference Finals where they're just playing up the dramatic music, and him just in there, and just the road to recovery in this hyperbaric chamber, and now here he is, reborn, a new man, and he's going to take on the Terminator, Kawhi Leonard. This man was thinking about dollars from the millisecond that ankle was sprained.
Yeah.
And God bless him for it. He's a genius. Good for him.
He's probably also thinking about his acting career. He wants to make sure
Space Jam 2.
He's probably hoping Space Jam 2. He wants to win an Oscar for Space Jam 2. So, he wants to show his range, his depth of range, not just in Space Jam, which is probably going to be like a comedy. He wants to show he's a dramatic actor as well, which, he's proven over his career. So got to give it to LeBron. Got to commend him for that. But all right. All right.
I'm not even.
Is that enough?
That's the NBA.
Enough NBA talk.
Yeah. I mean, that was good. I liked that. Bush League bros warming back into the swing of things, picking on LeBron, per usual.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go to the UFC. Had a huge pay-per-view this weekend. Lots of good fight. This one actually was an entertaining card, unlike UFC 259. It was headlined by Francis Ngannou and the champ Stipe Miocic at heavyweight. Ngannou killed Stipe. I know Stipe has since come out on Twitter and said he's not retired. I'm not convinced that's Stipe because Stipe is dead, in my opinion, knocked out in the second. We all saw the fall.
He's got to retire. Yeah.
And now the John Jones, Francis Ngannou fight that I think we all preferred over Jones versus Stipe is going to happen. And I'm pretty pumped about it. Before we get to that.
Is it going to happen? But let's get into the fight first. Yeah.
Well, just the fight or UFC 260 in general. What was your biggest takeaway? What were some exciting moments for you, sir?
So Ngannou, just very impressive, man. You can tell right away how much he has improved as a fighter since that first Stipe fight.
Nice.
Take the takedown defense, man, and and then just from there, like once he stuffed that early on, you kind of knew. You're like, all right, well, how is Stipe going to beat him? He's not going to trade hands and beat him. So it was definitely very eye-opening once that happened. We kind of knew, like I had a sense. I was favoring Ngannou going in anyway, and I think we saw. Yeah.
Did it feel like this was a repeat of Poirier and McGregor too? Just the way one guy looked like a bull in a china shop, and the other one kind of just looked like faint, just kind of standing there looking to get hit. Like it just something didn't feel right. Did you get that same impression?
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. But I think you can't take away from how much improved Ngannou is. Is he ready? To hold that belt in that division for a long time? We'll see. Ngannou's not young, right? He's like in his late 30s, right?
I don't.
think
he's not in his 20s. He's definitely at least in his mid 30s.
Yeah.
But look at that guy.
So, I know. You couldn't tell. He's a monster.
He kills both.
Yeah.
At the same time.
He could probably beat up like average citizens.
On Khabib, and he'd kill him.
Yeah. Average citizens, he could probably beat up close to five, like at least five
we're not
average citizens
okay, so let's not.
Yeah.
I feel like you and I
athletes,
would be a handful for this guy. Okay. We are elite athletes. Okay. I'm wrestling cougars. You've destroyed COVID. You dropped the elbow on it. I've beaten up COVID so many times, dude. Man,
so it's
bodying the
how much worse? Yeah, how much worse can Francis Ngannou be? No, but
right. Let's go. I'm in.
We saw, how much we get paid? Probably not a lot. Probably not a lot.
No,
Dana White's stingy.
You're right. Anyway, keep going.
But the shot that knocked out Stipe, not the hardest shot I've ever seen Ngannou land, but
I thought the first punch that he landed was worse than the punch that he knocked out Stipe with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think he was still feeling that first shot, and I think when it comes to getting hit by that guy, he could hit you at like 50%, and it's gonna cause damage. It's just he's so powerful, man. Like he hits so hard.
He has the kiss of death in that hand. It's disgusting.
Yeah. And I think that we are seeing for, the first time in a long time, probably since Lesnar, the first UFC heavyweight champ that we can really all like be excited about.
Yeah, he's box. Yeah, he's box office. Yeah, just like DC said on his show with Ariel Helwani on ESPN. He is the first box. Now that he is the champ, first box office since Lesnar.
Can't miss. Yeah,
you have to watch.
You cannot watch him fight. Yeah, exactly. And you know, I think it's a good thing for the UFC, especially as you know we're starting to see some stars like McGregor kind of lose some shine after losing that Poirier fight. I think, you know, they needed another major superstar to kind of emerge.
This card
and now,
is what the UFC needed. And I know, look, we'll steal material from your homework assignment this past week that we did. We talked about in that, spoiler alert for you guys who will never see it, we talked about how UFC has a star problem with, like you mentioned, Conor. We'll talk about Poirier 3 here in a second, but he seems to be on the decline. Yeah, he just had Izzy lose at 205. He's still the 185-pound champ, but took a little bit of the shine there. Khabib retired. There's a real star problem. This card, not only do we get Champ Francis, who, again, box office. Sugar Show, who, as I talked about, was kind of the start of this.
Show O'Malley, dude.
When he lost last year to Vera, that was kind of the first domino of guys that are potential stars or future star, you know, whatever you want to call them, of losing. It was him, and then Masvidal, then Conor, then Izzy. They couldn't, anyone that it seemed like you would go, oh, Dana wants to build around this guy, would lose. Now you've gotten Ngannou. Now we've gotten O'Malley back, you know, in his winning ways in a standout fashion. And we could talk about him for a second. And then the only I don't even know if it's a down, is Tyron Woodley lost again. He needs to retire. But the top two fights, O'Malley and Ngannou, that's exactly what the UFC needed. It's a shot in the arm for them to go in the right direction. And they can certainly build off this, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, especially with O'Malley, man, I think we've seen, you know, he could be the future, like the next future superstar. What division does he fight at again? He fights at
135.
Bantamweight. So, but he could get up to, you know, I think we'll probably see, he's got a big frame. Like, I think we'll probably see him get up to lightweight, right? Or featherweight,
probably featherweight. He walks at 155. In something that I think you'd like this. I don't know if you saw it, but he was on, one of my favorite shows, the Pat McAfee show yesterday. And in the fight, you saw in the first round, he knocked the guy down and then just kind of walked away. And Pat asked him, he's like, why didn't you finish him there? And he goes, well, Pat, you know, I just made this shirt that said undefeated. And there was some kind of rhyme where it referenced him knocking people down with his right hand. He goes, I realized I knocked him down with my left hand and that wasn't going to sell t-shirts. So I needed him to get back up so I could knock him out with my right hand to sell more t-shirts. It was a hilarious line. And this dude, when he's on his game, mentally, verbally, and in the ring, he's not. There's one Conor McGregor on the mic. There's only one of them special. But this guy, just like Izzy, those two guys, there's something there. There's something weird about them in an enticing and intriguing manner where, you can get behind these guys and push them to the moon. And I'm not saying I'm an O'Malley fan yet. I think the undefeated thing is kind of corny and it's kind of stealing from Chael Sonnen, my guy, who said he never lost, which he lost plenty of times. But there's something there. There's an electricity to this guy. It works, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, he keeps saying mentally undefeated is I think the line that he's been using. But
he did correct. Never mind. Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I will give him in that other fight where he did lose. I mean, it was kind of he got dropped, which it can happen, right? Where you get kicked in the leg and it basically loses you lose ability to control your foot, right?
He lost.
He got kicked in the nerve.
He lost.
Yeah, but this is still mixed martial arts. So like if you get kicked and your foot gives out, that's kind of the point of what your opponent's trying to do. So did I lose you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're frozen on my end.
Frozen. Oh, that'll be fun for me to
Are we still
Son of a bitch.
Yeah, are we still... Am I frozen at all? Are you still looking?
No, I am frozen. You are not. It's my computer. My desk, my laptop just is saying,
shit.
Screw it. So here at the Bush League Bros,
Yeah.
I'm gonna need Paul to talk here for a second while I do what I do. So,
Well,
Paul, while I'm sitting here playing with all of this with myself here,
yes.
why don't you talk
a little
about
more
John
about
Jones versus
O'Malley?
Ngannou or O'Malley?
All
I don't
right.
care. Talk about something.
All right. Well, no, I think we get the picture with the O'Malley. The reason I was double checking his weight division, man. I mean, the last thing I'll say on him is it's not going to happen anytime soon, but like maybe, if O'Malley continues to rise and he goes up and wins some fights at like 145, maybe a penultimate, career passing of the torch kind of fight between him and McGregor. Wouldn't that be like the most amazing fucking thing ever? I don't think it'll ever happen, but theoretically it could. I think just the way those two fight, the styles that they fight with, it would be great. But regardless, right? Moving back to
Let's talk about
John Jones versus
Ngannou,
Ngannou.
now that I'm back.
Okay. So obviously now that Ngannou won, we already know John Jones is moving up to heavyweight. Have you seen pictures of him recently? He looks huge.
Yeah, I saw him doing some deadlifts with some
yeah.
What do you call them? Resistance cords. It was insane.
Yeah. I mean, you can't tell me that guy like I'm sure. I mean, he has two brothers that play in the NFL. Like,
yep.
That guy can figure out how to put, some size on his frame and fight at heavyweight. I'm not worried about that. I think the one thing that could hold this fight up from happening is him negotiating what he wants to get paid by the UFC. I think he's kind of gotten. You don't think it's going to hold it up?
No, this is what's happening right now. This is all about both sides. This is both sides realizing that this is the clear fight that has to happen. This is the money-making fight. John Jones is going to stay in there and try to get as much money as possible right now, which he should.
Yeah.
And Dana White realizes, like, hey, I need to say things like I said at the post-fight press conference where, oh, guys, they say they want to fight, but then they say things like, show me the money, which is exactly what John Jones said on Twitter, because they don't really want to fight. This is Dana trying to drive the price back down to say, hey, we can always do the trilogy with Stipe. We can put Ngannou versus Derek Lewis, who was the last guy that Ngannou lost to. We have this is Dana trying to show that we have options.
No one wants to see either of those fights.
I mean, I'll watch those fights. Everyone will watch those fights because Ngannou, but you put John Jones in there, who is, say what you want. He's in our Popeye bracket, I'm pretty sure. For very good reason. You can say whatever you want about the guy. You can't take away. He is at least, if he's not the GOAT, he's at least in the GOAT conversation, and definitely the most talented fighter the UFC has ever had. I mean, I know Khabib's 29-0. John Jones is the most talented fighter they've ever had. And everybody wants to see that fight. This has to be the fight. This will be the fight. There's a reason when we get to the NFL here in a little bit, there's a reason we're not talking about the NFL draft, because all the news that's coming out right now, all the rumors, and it's all bullshit. So people don't give up their draft strategies and blah, blah, blah. We're not going to talk about stuff we don't know about. That's exactly what this is. Yeah. This is just muddying the waters, throwing people off the scent. This is what we're going to get. It's going to happen this year. And it is reinvigorating my excitement for UFC. Are you dead? Am I dead?
I think we're good. This fight has to happen. They'll figure out how much they're going to pay Jones. I think the one thing with John Jones is Dana White's a savvy dude, man. Like, I think he's figured out ways to underpay John Jones for his worth because of his issues outside of the ring, where he's like, he's probably taken advantage of that over the years. But this fight, man, you go in there, you want to be compensated. It's going to be a dangerous fight if you fight Francis Ngannou like that. I mean, I think he's like the one guy where there's like a chance you like don't walk out of the ring after fighting him. Like legitimately, you could die in there. Yeah.
You tell me I can fight Stipe or I can fight Francis. Obviously, both of them could easily kill me, even though I am an elite athlete, as we've said many times on this show. I'm going to require more money to step into the ring with Francis Ngannou than I am Stipe, because you're right. Like, that guy legitimately, he wouldn't just knock me out. He would, my soul. You ever seen, oh God, you ever seen Doctor Strange? Did you ever see that movie? Or did you at least see the trailer where the bald lady? Bush League Bros, Sports Talk, being Bush League.
Bush League on Bush League.
We got
Bush on Bush.
We got Polyakis over there in a new location. I am still Brett Batchelder in the same location. Connection should be better this time. We're going to work through it, but what we were talking about was John Bones Jones and Francis Ngannou, and we'll wrap it up here. You know, we were talking about show me the money, and is what's going on here? Is John trying to duck Francis behind money? And what I was saying before the lovely connection issues was, I asked, have you ever seen the movie Doctor Strange?
No. Yeah.
Okay. So here's why. Obviously, both Stipe and Francis would kill either of us, even though we are, again, elite athletes.
Yeah, of course.
It would take me more money to get in the ring or octagon with Francis, because I alluding to the Doctor Strange stuff, there's a scene where this bald lady, I don't remember her character's name, sorry, nerds, feel free to comment in the sections below. I really only watched it for Rachel McAdams, but this bald lady hits Doctor Strange before he's Doctor Strange, and he like goes backwards, but like his essence or his soul, like his body's here and his soul's like here, looking back at his physical body. I feel like that's what would happen. My soul would just leave me upon facial contact with Francis's fists, and I'm not interested in doing that. So to do it, to get me interested, I'm gonna need more money than going into something where Stipe will probably still either knock me out or submit me, but just in a less severe, physically less traumatizing car crash than what would be Francis Ngannou. I mean, so this fight's going to happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen. I think you're right. It's just they'll get the money figured out. But I think John Jones, you're right. We talked about it. He's just posturing at this point, trying to get the most money possible that he can get, and we'll see how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So one more thing
expected this summer.
Yes, one more thing also expected this summer. I'm just going to ask you one quick question on this.
Yeah.
Poirier Conor has already happened twice now. Happened once earlier this year.
Mm-hmm.
It's reported that in July they're going to do Poirier, instead of going for the title, which has been vacated by Khabib. Finally, Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler will fight for that later on this year as well. Poirier should have been in that conversation. Instead, he takes a fight with Conor to end that trilogy right then and there. My only question for you is, at what point, or will it when is Dana going to trip Dustin and get him hurt on his way to the octagon to make sure that Conor wins? What's going to happen to make sure that Conor wins this fight?
Yeah, I mean, he may not have to do that. Who knows, man? I mean, McGregor, you can never count him out, dude. I mean, he's got knockout power. I don't care, if he hasn't really knocked anyone out in quite a long time in the UFC. I think that Poirier definitely wants this fight again, because this is where, he's basically setting himself up for life by fighting McGregor 2 times in a row, right? Like, there's no way, he's probably going to blow through the amount of money he's going to, it's red panty night 2 times in a row. I'm excited to see it. I think it's the only logical fight. Like, this is it. Like, McGregor loses this fight again, it's a wrap. Like, he might as well just kind of go to celebrity boxing. And, exactly. He might as well just go make money elsewhere, because if he loses this fight, it's not the UFC anymore. Like, and I'm not saying Dustin might be the best guy in that division, right? But
he very well could be.
Yeah, it's just Conor's not the same guy anymore if he were to lose this fight. We've already seen him take some steps back, that the first fight was, disappointing, but you can make an argument, that, he got his leg kicked in that fight and he got hurt. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, but I'm excited to see them fight again. Anything that gets McGregor back in the ring sells tickets. Yeah. So.
Okay. Okay, but I mean, we just got to look out. I mean, Dana's going to pull out all the stops to make sure Conor wins.
Oh, yeah,
fight.
he's going to, yeah.
We've got to do some Vince McMahon, WWE type stuff to get that to happen. So we're going to kind of transition over to the NFL right now, but we're still going to stay in the UFC. We've got to talk about something here because could we, through brave people like yourself, and it might be because of you, finally getting the COVID vaccine, because you were, as previously talked about, you are the super spreader. Wherever you go, COVID follows. Now that you've been vaccinated, could we is COVID dead? Have we knocked out COVID? Because at UFC 261 next month, and I know this is in Florida, Jacksonville is having 15,000 people for UFC 261, Usman versus Masvidal 2. And in the NFL, the draft is happening in Cleveland. We're not going to talk about draft scenarios or anything like that right now. We'll do that later when things become more clear. They are planning on doing the draft business as usual with fans in attendance, and that's in Cleveland, not Florida. Are we back? Have we done it? Or are we about to do it?
I can't say that we're back, man. I don't know. Like I don't know if you've watched the news a little bit recently. They're saying that COVID's starting to rise again because everyone's laxing up. So I'm sure doctors and scientists and everyone that's been fighting this pandemic is not thrilled to see the UFC put 15,000 people into a stadium again. But I mean, I think for sports sake, I think we're pretty much going to get back to normal here in terms of this will be, I think that fight with all those people will be like the first kind of stepping stone of us getting back to somewhat of a normalcy in terms of like going to sporting events and stuff like that. I think it's a big step in that regard. Will it be a super spreader event? It's possible. It's definitely possible, but we'll see.
You're in Boston. We're good. We
exactly.
So
I'm not spreading COVID in Florida anymore, so it's exciting. But I think we're on our way to being back. I wouldn't say we're all the way back.
I am not going to UFC 261. I mean, I'd like to.
You should, dude.
But no. See, this is what you got to do. You got to let people.
You gotta let some guinea pigs go out there.
See what happens. Yeah, I am not the test dummy here. Let them go out there. I'm rooting for the draft. I'm rooting for UFC 261. And WrestleMania is also going to have fans of their 2 nights, and that's like a week before UFC, and that's in Tampa. Yeah. So really, Florida, we're trying COVID real hard right now. I guess we have it from the start, but I'm hoping all these events go smooth and we don't hear a lot of boosting COVID tests, because let me tell you, once the NFL starts popping off, maybe even once Major League Baseball starts popping off again, and I want to go to Fenway or something, I'm going to want to go to some sporting events this year. I need to go to some sporting events this year. So we need this to work. And I don't know about you guys, but it looks like in the next 2-3 weeks, we have our people our age who aren't, privileged like you are to have already gotten vaccinated. Our age groups around the country are now eligible, I think, starting in early April to get the COVID vaccine. So we could be, hey, the government's going to do whatever they want to do. Biden's going to come out, trip over some stairs, then tell us we're going to have small barbecues. But I think we're going to make
He was saying like yesterday, he was like, he wants the states that have like lifted the mask mandate and stuff like that to reinstate them, blah, blah, blah. Like he's not thrilled. He thinks like, basically he's like trying to prevent another surge that could possibly be happening. I don't think Texas is going to listen to Joe Biden. Let's put it that way. Neither's Florida. So it's but so I'm sure he's not thrilled that there's going to be an event with 15,000 people together. That's got to be the biggest event since COVID started, right? Like where there's that many people,
I think
at least in the United States.
I can't think of anything 15,000 human beings in one area. And it's going to go well. We're going to crush it, and we're going to crush COVID. And I'm excited. What I'm not excited about, this is kind of a dark topic here, Deshaun Watson. We're not talking about trade rumors because he might be untradeable at this point. There have been several allegations that have come
19
his way.
Now, right?
It is, as of yesterday, March 29th, it is up to 19 women saying that he coerced them or tried to get them to do things in a massage parlor, tried to go full Robert Kraft on 19. I don't know if it's true or not. What are your thoughts, though, on the Deshaun Watson situation?
So I don't know. It's been a wild ride, right? When this news first broke, it was just seemed far too odd, the timing, him trying to get out of Houston, But I mean, it's just woman after woman that keeps coming out and stating that this guy sexually abused them. It becomes tough, man. Like, as you don't want to ever call you don't want to ever to say someone's a liar for making accusations like this, because that's why women don't get believed when stuff like this happens. And maybe like 3, 4, 5 like different women you can kind of get on board to like come up with a story or that this happened, but like 19 different women that this have happened to, and then I don't know. It's still strange because it's like, why are we just hearing about this now? Why?
The timing is very strange.
Timing is still strange, but it's starting to look worse and worse for Deshaun Watson, where I know the NFL is investigating it, but I don't know. Like, it's just a shitty topic, man. Like, apparently, clearly something awry has happened, I think, is my conclusion at this point. I think that I don't think 19 women come forward and say that you're, a piece of shit that like assaulted them if like you're not at least like flirting with like, or you're at least a borderline kind of scumbag. Like, I think there's got to be something going on. Yeah. I saw a video yesterday of him at his like house with Mia Khalifa. He was like hanging out with Mia Khalifa. It was like an old video.
Can't do it.
But the caption was like, yeah, maybe Deshaun Watson really is a fucking hornball, dude. He's like chilling with Mia Khalifa, and like, who knows, man? Who knows what the story is with this guy? Hopefully, like it gets resolved. I don't know though. Like, if it comes to fruition that he really assaulted 19 women, this guy can't really play in the NFL anymore, can he?
Yeah, I think when this first came out, it was kind of hard to be like, there's the timing of it, like you mentioned. It was so weird. This guy is trying to get traded. Was this something? And, there's been reports that maybe the ownership of the Texans, they're not the most holy, even though they pretend to be with their religious beliefs or whatever. Maybe they're not the cleanest. Maybe they don't do business the cleanest way. I'll put it that way. So there was some conspiracy theories that, hey, this could just be defamation, just to try to get him to force him to stay in Houston behind this blah. There was all that going on. But now that we're up to 19, and I know, obviously this is a touchy subject. Is it hard for me to believe that all 19 of these women were sexually assaulted? Kinda. I look at the dog in the background. Lightening up the mood there. There we go. Yeah, it is, but that's just the cynical nature of me. And I don't care if it was 19 or one of them. One of them is too many. You can't have this. You can't be doing this. You can't be, even if he just thinks he was flirting or whatever. I mean, you have to be, especially nowadays, when we talk about cancel culture all the time, when you are in a position of power, like the starting quarterback of the Houston Texans, even though they're not even the best team in their own state, there's clearly a better team there. Being the starting quarterback of any football team in the NFL, you start implying things and making people, you gotta be smart. You gotta put yourself in better situations. You can't be doing this, even if it wasn't to the degree that he's being accused of. And you're right. If any of this is true, the guy can't play anymore. You can't do it. Yeah. And if it's not true, on your team, if it's not true, and it's somehow all 19 of these women are after money or whatever. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that being the case, but if this is all just one big conspiracy, those people,
it becomes the craziest story of all time.
Yeah.
If that's the case. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
like it becomes the most bizarre sports story that we've ever seen. I think if Deshaun, didn't do this and somehow they got 19 women to come forward and say he did it, it's insane, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, and those people need to be dealt with. But hopefully this gets resolved. Hopefully this didn't really happen, because that's just tough. for all parties involved. But let's get out of the dark subject here. We covered it. We had to cover it because it is kind of big news. Let's get to our Bush League Bros all-time sports personalities bracket here.
Let's do it.
Last time, what did we cover last time? We covered the NBA. What is happening here? You cannot do that. Nope. Okay, hang on. Computer being dumb. Let me get my bracket up here. Being Bush League. I'm not even prepared, but we did that, and we narrowed it down to the finals for the NBA bracket. Rodman versus Shaq. Today, we are going to do the Popeye bracket. And if you're wondering what the Popeye bracket is, that's just, hey, Popeye, he needed his spinach, and once he had his spinach, that lovely vegetable substance, he became a different human being. So this bracket is all about human beings that have either, allegedly taken substances to improve performance or other kind of substances.
Just drugs.
Yeah, just some things in general. One thing I do want to point out here, I mentioned there was a mistake on the bracket. If you'll notice from the original, all 4 brackets, you'll see Ric Flair is a 5 seed in both the Popeye bracket and in the GOAT bracket. We're going to keep him in the Popeye bracket. That one fits him better. In the GOAT bracket, we need a new 5 seed. So I want people to be thinking about who that 5 seed should be. Paul, if you have a suggestion, let me know after the show. But you guys put in the comments on the YouTube or on the Facebook who you think should replace Ric Flair as the 5 seed in the GOAT bracket. We'll cover that bracket on the next episode. But for this one, for the Popeye bracket, here are the matchups, and we're going to boil it down all the way to the final 2 guys, and I need to get something to write with here. All
right.
Go through it. First, I'll run through it, and then we'll go through it here.
Yeah.
We have the 1 and the 8 seed, Mike Tyson and Tyson Fury, a couple of boxing legends at heavyweight. The 4-5, Conor McGregor versus Ric Flair. Awesome matchup right there. The 2-7 matchup is Lawrence Taylor and Michael Irvin, and the 3-6 matchup is Marshawn Lynch and Ricky Williams. We're going to start with the Tyson boys, Mike Tyson and Tyson Fury, whose first name was named after Mike Tyson. Who do you got in this matchup?
Oh, this one, man, it's a tough one. I think they're both pretty good personalities, and both have had their out of the ring issues. That's been very clear. Sure. Mike Tyson, in the 90s was maybe the craziest human being on the planet. Tyson Fury has had, substance abuse issues, has kind of come back from that, has put some of that aside. At one point he weighed like 400 pounds, dude. Like the guy is, he's like a gypsy. I don't know if you're
Gypsy
familiar
King,
with
baby.
Gypsy King. Just a crazy personality. I don't think though, like if we're looking at Mike Tyson as a whole, both guys seem to be doing better now. That's a good thing, right? Tyson Fury is heavyweight champ of the world, right?
Fighting Anthony Joshua for the unified.
Exactly.
Pretty soon.
I think you can't. I mean, the Popeye bracket is kind of like the craziest sports personality / like did drugs at some point maybe, or like whatever. I don't think you can like pick someone over Tyson or Mike Tyson, right? Like Mike Tyson was doing all sorts of crazy shit in the 90s. He was going to jail. He was doing cocaine, hanging with Tupac. Like the guy is just one of the all-time personalities in sports. I think he's the 1 seed for a reason in this bracket. I think we got to go with Mike Tyson.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you here. I mean, Tyson Fury. I mean, first of all, kudos to both of them for what they've had to defeat the demons. Tyson Fury. I mean, he's been very open about the mental health and in Europe driving 160 miles an hour, thinking he's going to go off of a cliff just to end his life. The drugs, the blowing up to 400 plus pounds. So he's clearly he's on this list for a reason. But I mean, you're right. Mike Tyson. We know the similar to the Deshaun Watson allegations that happened earlier in the 90s. He was biting people's ears off. Who he might fight that guy this year, which is pretty cool.
That'd be pretty cool. Yeah,
tigers.
Bite his ear off again.
Yeah, tigers as pets. I mean, this guy. I mean, he owns his own marijuana company now that it's legal.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Doing
even
great,
before then, he smoked more in his lifetime than he has probably on his entire field growing right now. This guy is I think Tyson Fury better on the mic than Mike Tyson, but as an all-time personality, just there's something not right with Mike Tyson in a charming way. I love Mike Tyson, so I'm going to agree with you. We're taking Mike. I mean, Tyson Fury was named after Mike Tyson, so you got to go with the original on this one.
Okay. All right. So we both agree. Mike Tyson, moving on.
Yeah, let's go to the 4-5 matchup here. And this one might be my favorite matchup on the entire thing. Conor McGregor versus Ric Flair. What do you got? The Nature Boy versus the Notorious.
This is such a tough one, dude. I mean, so man.
Do you want me to make
such a tough
first? Do you want me to go first on this one?
Yeah, you go first.
All right,
yeah.
So you gotta go Nature. And this is close, but you gotta go Nature Boy Ric Flair, and here's why. One, Space Mountain. The guy's super old, but his pickup line is the longest line for the oldest ride. You know, I butchered that a little bit. But I mean, as a catch for, he's claimed he's slept with over 10,000 women, including Halle Berry, who denied the claim. Ric Flair, and I mean, obviously in the GOAT bracket, we have Muhammad Ali. Ric Flair was the next guy. While Muhammad Ali kind of invented or popularized trash talk, Ric Flair was the guy that took it to another level. He is the blueprint for guys like Floyd Mayweather, for guys like Conor McGregor. He's the one that, I mean, he took it again to another level, just in a ridiculous way. He had the gimmick, he had the watch, you know, the Rolex, the cars, the limousine ride, jet flying, kiss stealing, wheeling dealing, son of a gun. It's got to be Conor McGregor. I mean, obviously, we can talk about he's in the Popeye bracket for a reason. We know about the alleged cocaine and, you know, beating up old dudes and throwing the dolly through the bus, which I still kind of think was a little staged just for a I mean, and it worked great. I mean, that's wrestling at its finest, in my opinion.
Exactly.
But I mean, Ric Flair, I mean, the guy has drinking more alcohol than anybody he was in wrestling during the 70s and the 80s, so you know he was doing other substances. Sleeping with the ring rats, performing at the highest level in the ring. He was doing, like, we could talk about, Jordan was out all night drinking, smoking cigars, gambling, golfing, and then putting up 60 on people every night.
Yeah.
Ric Flair was doing that times 20 in the 70s and 80s. I love Conor. I think Conor is amazing. I have to go Ric Flair on this one.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, it takes a special human being to really top Ric Flair, or I mean, to top Conor McGregor, I should say.
It does.
But I think
it's a tough matchup for Conor.
Yeah. In this bracket, I think you gotta go with, as much as Conor McGregor is maybe like the new king of trash talk, like he's one of the best that we've ever seen when it comes to trash talk. He gets in people's heads. He's phenomenal when it comes to that. But Ric Flair, man, he's been doing the damn thing for a long time. He's still kicking. He almost died, like I want to say about a year ago, right? He almost died.
He almost died a few times, yeah.
Yeah. You know, I think just out of respect and, you know, not even just respect, he's earned this spot to the next round. Ric Flair, there's no one else that's ever been like him. Similar to Conor, but I just think that Ric Flair is our guy when it comes to you know, to this matchup. Everything you stated, everything there, man. I mean, and Conor McGregor, one of all-time sports personalities. Crazy to see him out this early, but when you get matched up with Ric Flair, man, this is what happens.
That's what
it's
happens.
Like facing, you know, like you get
sometimes
you get a bad matchup.
Yeah, you get a tough draw. So let's go. All right, we're in agreement. We got Rick moving on here. The Ric Flair drip going to the second round.
Yep.
We got another fun matchup here. I kind of like all these matchups, but Lawrence Taylor, the original LT, versus Michael Irvin, the playmaker. Lawrence Taylor, arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. Michael Irvin, 3-time Super Bowl champ with the Cowboys. Both have done a lot of the nose candy in their times.
Oh, yeah.
Both are insane human beings. Where are you leaning on this one?
This is another tough one. Michael Irving, fantastic personality when we think about it, right?
Great on the NFL Network, yeah.
Great on the NFL Network. Just like he's one of my favorite guys to watch commentate on the NFL. But in terms of LT in his prime, crazy days, I don't really know that there is, we talk about Jordan, Ric Flair staying out all night. LT, man, like
guys, yeah.
This guy was out partying, but then, arguably doing a tougher task, dude. He was like, showing up on Sundays and just destroying shit. Such a bold personality that, the GOAT coach, Bill Belichick, just, has admitted that he was like, you just let him do whatever he wanted, right? Like, right? Like, well, he was like, there was no.
I like how, because, Bill grew up in a military family, very authoritarian. I do like how he wanted to hold LT accountable, and LT came in. I don't know if he was hungover or still trying to recover from potentially doing some of the nose candy that we talked about.
Nose candy, yeah.
That we alluded to there, but he came in looking a little rough. Came in late. Both Bills. Belichick wanted to hold him accountable. Started to yell at him. Parcells pulls him over and goes, "That guy right there, you can do whatever you want. Leave that one alone. He'll show up on game day." And that just shows how special he is. It's a great story.
Yeah. So I got to go LT coming out of this one. It's, just the phenomenal talent, but then also, I mean, he was nuts, dude. Like he played with like a rage that, we haven't seen a lot of that since. No. So I'm going LT.
Yeah, I think obviously I have bias with Michael Irvin, but I'm not going. I think if this was TV personalities, Michael Irvin would win in a landslide, and he'd probably beat a lot of guys because he's great on TV. He gets in that preacher mode and starts yelling, and it's always really funny when he does his cowboy bias because people either hate it or they laugh at it. It's really good stuff, but that's not what this bracket is. This is all-time overall sports personalities. LT is one of a kind. What he did on the football field, off the football. This dude, we just talked about Ric Flair being a wrestler. Hey, on top of everything else he did, Lawrence Taylor did wrestle at WrestleMania one time. So that just shows how whacked out this guy was. He could play on Sunday, go do his party, go do a wrestling match, go more in part. The guy was out of his mind. LT, moving on. We ain't got to say much more about that. Let's get into the battle of the running backs here.
Yes.
Marshawn Lynch, Mr. Bout That Action Boss, versus Ricky Williams, the biggest stoner in NFL history
we've ever seen, man.
What did the guy quit football for weed? He said millions of dollars or weed. I'll take the weed, please.
Take the weed, yeah.
What do you got in this matchup?
Marshawn Lynch, right? Definitely an interesting personality that we've seen in the NFL, but I would say also that when it comes to Ricky Williams, you're good. When it comes to Ricky Williams, just a complete stoner.
I like your roommate right there, Turner.
Yeah, just one of the has quit football, but then like also like you ever like seen there's a 30 for 30 on him. He's just like talking about how he is into like all these holistic practices or whatever. Like it always shocked me like how that guy was then also a great NFL running back. Like I felt like it never made sense that he was able to play football too. Marshawn Lynch obviously never talked at the Super Bowl or like refused to speak and stuff like that. Has had tons of other funny clips and done other funny things. Yeah. They should have given him the ball. They should have given Marshawn Lynch the ball. Everyone remembers that. But I'm gonna go Ricky Williams, man. Come out of this one. I just think Ricky Williams is just one of the strangest personalities we've ever seen in sports. And I think that's gotta stand for something where the guy quit being a millionaire athlete to smoke weed. I mean, it's hard to top that. Yeah.
Yeah, this one's tough. I mean, I like Marshawn Lynch as a personality much more than I like Ricky. I think Marshawn Lynch is absolutely hilarious with everything that he does. And it's not He's not putting on an act. That's just Marshawn being Marshawn. And that's why he's on this.
Exactly.
Ricky Williams, not as much of a media personality, not as much of a gonna grab you on TV, but he has some of that Rodman in him. Like,
for sure, yeah.
I mean, like Rodman, he has also put on a wedding dress. I think Mike Ditko, what his coach for the Saints, was the guy that was with him on the Sports Illustrated cover, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yeah. Ditko was in a wedding dress,
Ditko was the guy, and then Ricky Williams was in the wedding dress.
Is in the wedding dress, yeah.
The fact that Mike Ditka did that was absolutely hilarious. But I mean, Ricky Williams, he gave up millions of dollars to go smoke weed. He was always like this. I don't know, man. This guy, and not only that, when he decided to come back to the NFL, he came back and he played really good.
Yeah,
he was really good. He wasn't as good as Marshawn Lynch. But I think, again, no. Ricky Williams was never as good in the NFL as Marshawn Lynch was.
Yeah.
I mean,
in his prime, though, like he had a couple seasons.
He was great. Yeah. He was great for a while.
He was the best running back in football. Yeah.
I mean, at least one of them. I mean, I'm pretty sure LaDainian Tomlinson would like to call you and say a few things during that time. But we're not here to talk about that. So, again, I think this kind of goes back to the Lawrence Taylor, Michael Irvin argument. If we're just talking about captivating television personality, I think Marshawn Lynch wins this. But this is all around personality, what you've done throughout your career. I just think that the fact that this guy moved across the country or across the world to give up millions of dollars for weed and do his holistic practices and putting on the wedding dress, I got to go Ricky Williams as well. I know we haven't really argued on this one a whole lot.
No, we haven't,
But great minds think alike. So we'll move Ricky on. And we've got to do one more quick round here before we wrap up the show. We got to do Tyson versus Rick and LT versus Ricky. Let's start with LT and Ricky. I think this one's pretty simple. I think Lawrence Taylor has to move on. I think his toughest matchup was Michael Irvin. So we're going with LT, right?
We're going to go with LT to move on that one. Right, as much as Ricky Williams made it through, I mean, just LT has like the GOAT like era about him, you know what I mean? The GOAT air, and just was definitely the crazier like partier /
he was insane.
We're all
I feel like we're both in alignment, as potential past young partiers ourselves, trying to put ourselves in the shoes of and elite athletes. We're both elite athletes. Again, I'll keep saying that a million times on the show, because I think we can understand where guys like LT and Tyson and Ric Flair, we get it, we get it.
Yeah.
So we know how hard it is to do what they did. So let's go to that final matchup to get us to the semifinals. This person will face LT on a later episode when we get to the Elite Eight. This one's tough. We've got Mike Tyson versus Ric Flair. Where are you leaning?
This is a tough matchup, man. I mean,
this one is
both guys just
legends.
Yes, at the peak of their powers, just absolute legends and crazy personalities. I guess I'm going to have to lean Tyson, though. There's a reason he's a 1 seed in this bracket. As much as I'd love me some Ric Flair, I got to go Tyson, man. Like, he was the knockout artist. He was the psychopath. I mean, he partied. He hung out with Tupac, other 90s celebrities and rappers. He was that guy, man. Like, he was. And the thing is Ric Flair was very famous, I would say, right? Like, Ric Flair, super famous. But you would still, I think you could still find some people that know of Ric Flair, but like don't know the crazy part of Ric Flair, or just don't know Ric Flair at all. Mike Tyson, everyone in the world knows him. There's a point where he was maybe the most, one of the most famous people on the planet, right? And everyone also knows that like Mike Tyson is crazy. Like, it goes hand in hand, or like he was crazy. Like, back in the 90s, he bit someone's ear off. Like, so it goes hand in hand. Like being an insane personality and an athlete is what Mike Tyson is known for. Ric Flair, most people know that about him, but I wouldn't say it's as like world renowned. So that's why I'm leaning Mike Tyson on this one. Everyone knows him. Everyone knows he was a psychopath and the best boxer on the planet. So, and would murder you. So,
I mean, Mike Tyson would murder you. Easy.
Yeah.
This one is tough. I think you're right. I think Tyson at his peak was more famous than Ric Flair ever was. I do think Ric Flair is going through a weird kind of renaissance the last 4 or 5 years where people are either doing TikToks or Instagrams of his legendary promos. He's been in rap videos. I think people are starting to, who maybe not grew up with wrestling, I think they're starting to understand the greatness of Ric Flair. I think he was better on the microphone. I think he was a better on-camera personality. That's why he was, WCW, NWA champion for so long. And, he did. But, you could argue as far as Blockbuster, we don't even have him on this bracket anywhere. And maybe he needs to replace Ric Flair in the GOAT bracket. He was never Hulk Hogan, right?
No.
He was never Stone Cold. He was never The Rock as far as mainstream popularity. He was never never really, I can't think of a movie that Ric Flair was ever in. And I know, Mike Tyson, he's been in Hangover and I don't know what else. He had his own TV show. I think I'm going to go, this is tough, but I think I'm also going to go Mike Tyson just because at his peak, he was the only guy that I could think of that in the 90s was just as or almost as close to well-known as Michael Jordan. And it was, part of it was because he could kill you with the touch of his fist, but it was the personality that went with it. We talked about this on your homework assignment. Who would you rather get hit by, Francis Ngannou or Mike Tyson? And I said Francis just because Francis comes off as a nicer human being. When that towel went on Mike Tyson's head, you knew okay, even though he might be this nice guy, I don't see that right now. I see a dude that's looking to take my soul. He said he'll eat your heart. Anytime a guy is willing to eat your heart in front of millions of people on pay-per-view, he's got to move on. So we're going to get, and no upsets here. We're going to get Mike Tyson and LT in the final.
Yeah, I think what you just said, LT and Mike Tyson coming out of this bracket,
makes sense.
Facing off for the final four. It's the Popeye crazy, substance abuse bracket. Possibly, it's gotta be those two.
There could only be two.
In terms of,
and it was these two. But some tough matchups there. Some great guys got eliminated.
It was a great bracket. Probably my favorite one on here.
It's nice to talk about Ric Flair for that long. That's a good time. And then I think next episode I said we would do the GOAT conversation. Let us know on the Facebook or the YouTube comments who you want to see replace Ric Flair in the GOAT bracket. If you guys don't say anything, Paul and I will pick something ourselves. But before we wrap up this show, Mr. Liakis, do you have anything else you want to talk about? Anything to get us out of here?
Not too much, man. Looking forward to the Final Four. Should be set after tonight. Some big games tonight: Michigan, UCLA. I think what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit more NCAA once we're
I will watch the Final Four.
Recap the bracket. Yeah,
I will. It will be my duty.
Yeah,
you bringing the dog on the show?
Yeah, dude. We'll make a guest appearance, dude. Come here. Oh. All right.
There we go. What a positive way to end the show.
Yeah, positive vibes only. Dog vibes. Look how handsome he is.
That's a good looking dog, right? What's the name?
His name's Kylo.
After what?
Not after Kylo Ren. No.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
He looks like he'd be older than Kylo.
Look at that face. Look at your face. Look at your face.
Well, I can't really think of a better way to end the podcast than that right there. Yeah. So we will wrap it up so you can go play with Kylo and do things before you got to go to work.
For a walk. Huh?
Oh, yep.
Uh-oh.
Yep, he's into that. So we got to get Kylo out there for a walk. That's going to do it for this edition of Bush League Bros Sports Talk. Please follow us on the Facebook page and the YouTube. Again, we are not on Spotify right now just for monetary reasons. Maybe someday we'll go back to it. Like the video if you like us. Yeah. Again, in the comments, tell us who should replace Ric Flair in the GOAT bracket. We'll cover that bracket on the next edition next Tuesday. But for right now, thank you guys for watching and or listening. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace.
Peace.
Bush League. Bush League.
Punch you right in the mouth. That's Bush. Bush League.